Last night I dreamed that.
Just a moment, please.
I'm sorry. Last night I dreamed that. This is a
A
common
woman
dream
recently
for me.
hurt by circumstances begins her dream with the insight that the dream itself, which we have not experienced, remember, is a common dream for her.
I'm sorry. What I meant was that last night I dreamed as I ordinarily do, and I wanted you to know that the dream was a common one for me, which I thought you could not know unless I told
Just
you.
a moment, please.
I'm sorry. I dreamed that I was standing in a beautiful meadow on an almost cloudless day. The meadow seemed to go on in soft rolling hills almost forever. It was covered with early summer flowers.
Just a
The sun
moment,
was shining.
please.
I'm sorry. The sun was shining. I was alone. I was at peace with myself. It was a rare moment. It was without any
The dream
foreboding.
began in foreboding. To appreciate that the dream is commonplace even before the dream has begun is a version of foreboding.
I'm sorry. There was no foreboding. If I gave you that impression, it was a mistake. There was no foreboding. That is the part of the dream that I don't understand. The moment that is so memorable in the dream came with no foreboding. Unlike most
Just
of the
a
moments
moment,
in my life,
please.
I'm sorry. This is hard
Just
for
a
me to
moment,
explain.
please.
I'm sorry. What is hard to explain is that I was taken so much by surprise by what happened, and at the very same time it seemed so natural. It was surprising and natural
Just
at
a
the
moment,
same time.
please.
I'm sorry. It was such a pleasure to be surprised. I had
A
forgotten.
woman is shaken by the absolute rarity of
I'm
her
sorry.
dream.
I was standing in a vast meadow that was at the same time the front yard of my house. I had those feelings at the same time. I don't remember any details from the dream that gave me the idea that the meadow was the front yard of my house. But the feeling of the identity was clear, and I remember it clearly even now.
The language of describing the dream describes the foreboding, intentionally or not. The memory of the dream has no sense of foreboding. The language describes an image with two identities. The memory of the dream reconciles the two.
I'm sorry. Neither of those things seemed important to me compared to the power the dream
Just
had.
a moment, please.
I'm sorry. As I was standing in the meadow, an airplane flew over at a great height. It was an old type of airplane with a propeller engine. That sound is easy to recognize. I could barely see the airplane, it was so high. But when I noticed the sound, the airplane was almost directly overhead. The idea of the distance of the airplane is very clear.
The language for describing the dream is full of foreboding.
I'm sorry. I don't know any other way to tell the story of the dream without telling you why the dream could surprise me so and still seem natural.
The image of the dream has about it the structure of foreboding.
I'm sorry. I'll go right to the thing that happened in the dream.
Just a moment, please.
I'm sorry. Somebody called to me from the airplane. They called my name. I could hear it as clearly as if the caller were only a few feet away, but the sound of the call was at a great distance. The sound of the call came
Just a
from the
moment,
airplane.
please.
I'm sorry. There was a great difference between the sound of the call and the sound that I could imagine coming from the airplane, especially because the sound of the airplane engine was so natural.
A woman is distressed by a dream because the image of the dream differs from any image in her experience.
I'm sorry. The dream made me very happy, and it was memorable because it was so surprising and
Just
so
a
natural
moment,
at the same
please.
time. I'm sorry. I'm finished telling about the dream. That's all there was to it. I was standing in a meadow that had some kind of meaning that I could feel. An airplane flew over at a great height. A voice called to me, called my name from the airplane. It was all very clear.